The shocking truth about life in America during the dark early 1900s, you won't believe this. The dawn of the 20th century in America was nothing short of a haunting spectacle. A twisted canvas splashed with fear, desperation, and intrigue. Picture this. Shadowy alleys where whispers mingled with the stench of smoke, and every corner turned could reveal a ghost. The streetlights flickered, casting eerie shadows, like figures lurking just beyond your line of sight. It was a time when the nation stood on the brink of chaos, and secrets were buried deeper than the rumbling sounds of poverty that echoed through the darkened streets. The air hung thick with mystery and dread, swirling around the factories belching black smog and the tenements that seemed to sag under the weight of their own sorrow. People crammed into these grimy buildings, their dreams crushed like the coal they burned to keep warm. Stories floated through the air like fallen leaves in the wind, whispers of the strange occurrences at night, flickering lights in the windows of the abandoned asylum, a figure that darted just out of sight, laughter that faded into terrified silence. Who could sleep knowing that danger was just a breath away? The constant hum of the city masked cries of agony, and laughter turned to wails, a chilling reminder of the fragility of life during these dark times. Then there was the epidemic of disappearances that plagued the townsfolk. Men and women vanished without a trace, leaving only their shadows to haunt the streets. Mothers would clutch their children tighter, glancing nervously over their shoulders at the darkness that wrapped around them like a shroud. The police, overwhelmed and exhausted, could offer no solace, only more questions. A rumor began to spread like wildfire. The old wooden carousel in the town square held the key to the disappearances. Some claimed the painted horses came alive at night, galloping into the unknown as laughter echoed eerily in the mist. Was it a myth born from fear, or was something far more sinister resting beneath the surface? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As midnight approached, the atmosphere grew electric, a pulse of terror radiating through the air. The carousel began to creak, its colorful horses slumped as if waiting, expecting. Dares flew through heated breaths. I'll ride it. I'm not afraid. Could anyone really be that brave? With a deep breath, a figure stepped forward, the moonlight glinting off their trembling hands. People piled around, breaths held, eyes wide, hearts racing. A sudden stillness fell, so thick it made the crowd's pulse seem loud. What happened next? Did the mere touch of the carousel release a scream from the void? Or would it claim another soul? The questions hung heavy, leaving everyone on edge, wondering. The night was thick with suspense, as if the very air was holding its breath. The moonlight revealed the figure stepping towards the carousel, young, impulsive Thomas, brimming with bravado, clenching his fists as he approached the rickety structure. The crowd didn't dare breathe. Eyes widened, hearts hammered. The anticipation crackled like static in the air. Thomas looked back at the crowd, his face a mask of nervous excitement and fear. "Watch me," he shouted, though the determination in his voice felt hollow. He reached out a trembling hand, feeling the splintered wood beneath his fingertips. The painted horse nearest him appeared to watch, its eyes glinting in the faint light as if alive. Suddenly the carousel creaked to life. The old machinery whirred and clanked, shaking off decades of dust. The haunting melody of a long-forgotten song floated through the night, wrapping around the crowd like a chilling embrace. Gasps echoed, couples turned pale, and children squealed, clutching their parents' hands tighter. And then it happened. One by one, the horses began to rise off their perches, swirling like a waltz in the air, suspended between the world of the living and a forgotten past. Thomas stood frozen, awe mixed with terror. A low rumble resonated, the ground quaking beneath their feet. "Get away!" someone screamed, but legs seemed glued to the spot as if the darkness held them captive. Just when it seemed the world stood still, Thomas swung himself onto the back of a horse, its vibrant colors enlightening the shadowy abyss below. An electric energy coursed through him, a wild adrenaline rush that made him feel invincible, but also aware of a lurking shadow in the corner of his eye. The laughter drifted from beyond the carousel, not joyous, but a sinister echo that sent shivers rippling through the onlookers as the ride began to spin faster. The crowd's voices turned into screams, soaked in confusion. Faces twisted in horror as they witnessed a scene that defied logic. One moment, Thomas was laughing. The next, his joy twisted into fear. The carousel blurred, the painted horses morphing into grotesque forms. With every turn, the resonating laughter grew louder, drowning out reason. The ground quaked again, this time more violently. The carousel's melody shifted, notes twisting into a discordant song that rattled bones and ignited primal fears. People stumbled backward, scrambling even as they felt the pull towards the chaos. What was happening? Was this madness? Then, in an instant, everything changed. There was a blinding flash of light, then darkness. Silence fell like a blanket over the crowd, an oppressive shroud leaving them bewildered. When they finally regained their senses, Thomas was gone. Just like that, he had vanished into the night, consumed by the very thing that had drawn him near. Fear washed over the crowd, confusion turning into hysteria. Parents cried out for their children, lost in the chaos, as whispers of the other disappearances resurfaced, echoing through the alleyways and creeping into minds already shadowed by doubt. What lurked beneath the carnival's painted surface? Somewhere in the distance, the laughter returned, but this time it was different, taunting, chilling, reverberating through the streets. Clutching each other, the crowd looked toward the carousel once more, knowing they had crossed a threshold that could not be unpassed. What awaited them now? A reckoning? Or something far worse? The moon looked down, shining its cold light on a scene that would haunt their dreams for years to come. Questions lingered like unwanted guests, begging for answers that felt dangerously out of reach. From that moment on, the carousel would whisper its secrets to those brave enough to listen. And just like that, the mystery deepened. What did the carousel really want? And who would be next? The crowd was paralyzed, a mass of tangled fear and confusion, hearts racing in unison as they searched the empty space where Thomas had just been. Murmurs swept through like a chilling wind. Did he really vanish? How can that happen? People turned to each other, eyes wide with disbelief and anxiety. In the dim light, shadows danced grotesquely as the carousel continued to spin, the haunting tune morphing into a deafening cacophony. The horses, twisted and warped, seemed to pause mid-gallop, their glassy eyes catching the moonlight in a way that felt disturbingly alive. Gasps echoed when the horses paused. Did they just? No one could fully comprehend what was happening. Yet everyone felt the desperate urge to run even if their feet wouldn't respond. An older woman clutched her daughter close, both trembling, as panic gripped the air. "We have to get out of here," she blurted, but the crowd stood transfixed, unable to look away from the carousel. Eyes glued to the whimsical horror, they were powerless before its terrible magic. Suddenly, a flash of light erupted from the carousel's center, illuminating the fearful faces around it. They flinched at the brightness, but the light faded as quickly as it appeared, leaving an unsettling laughter that echoed like a ghostly melody in their ears. Everyone felt it. Something dark lurked just beneath the surface of this once vibrant carnival, a void that siphoned happiness and hope. What if Thomas is trapped in there? A voice, shaky and quivering, broke through the hushed whispers. A boy near the front stepped forward, eyes fierce with determination, cutting through the fog of fear. "We can't just stand here. We need to find him." Before anyone could stop him, he dashed toward the carousel, ignoring the crowd's warnings. His heart pounded as he approached the spinning mass, every instinct screaming that it was a mistake, but it felt like the only choice. The carnival lights flashed angrily in his periphery, sparks of color against the growing darkness. In a swift movement, he leaped onto one of the horses. The instant he made contact, the ride jolted violently, as though awakening from a long slumber. The others cried out, panic rising again like a tide, but he clung tight, adrenaline flooding through his veins. With each turn, the laughter intensified, now mingling with pleading cries. Was it Thomas? The boy squinted, hoping to glimpse a familiar face through the madness. A shattering noise echoed, metal screeching against metal as a horse reared back, its eyes now glowing ominously. The sudden jolt flung the boy off balance, sending him tumbling to the ground just outside the ride. He landed hard, breath knocked from his lungs, but scrambling to stand, he faced the carousel with fear gripping him. It hadn't just felt alive. It felt malevolent. I can't let this happen, he shouted, voice trembling, fueled by fear and desperation. The boy retrieved a nearby stick, brandishing it like a warrior mounting a defense in the face of a great threat. The crowd gasped as he took another step closer, ready to confront the darkness that had engulfed his friend and threatened more. As he yelled for Thomas, an overwhelming wind picked up, swirling debris around him like a vortex. Shadows seemed to twist and contort, beckoning him closer to the spinning doom. But just as he steadied himself, the laughter erupted again, this time mingled with a sorrowful wail that echoed through the night, sending shivers racing down spines. What horrors lay hidden in the heart of the carousel? The boy's resolve faltered for just a moment, the enormity of the situation swirling like the violent winds around him. The crowd watched in breathless unison, the line between reality and nightmare blurring even further. And then, like a whisper in the dark, a figure emerged from the shadows of the carousel, a familiar face, but twisted in a way that told them something was terribly wrong. Help me, Thomas's voice trembled, inching out like a lost soul. But what they saw was not the boy they once knew. It was the beginning of something far more sinister than they could have ever imagined. What had he become, and what had their town unknowingly unleashed? The carousel's secrets were ready to unveil themselves. But at what cost? The boy staggered back, heart pounding so hard it drowned out the laughter swirling around him. Thomas's face was as pale as a ghost, wide eyes shining with unnatural light. Shadows curled around him like living tendrils, and it was as if the carousel itself breathed, its rhythm now heavy and foreboding. Thomas, is it really you? He shouted, desperately trying to discern the truth behind the twisted visage before him. Help me, Thomas croaked again, but the voice sounded hollow, devoid of life. It pierced the boy's heart, creating an ache so deep he almost buckled under its weight. Get away from him, a woman in the crowd shouted, but her plea fell flat. Panic rippled through the onlookers, faces painted with terror, hands clutching children and lovers as if holding on could protect them from the nightmare unfurling before their eyes. Suddenly, the carousel spun faster, a blur of color and sound. The boy strained to keep his eyes locked on Thomas, but the shadows pulled him back, further into the depths. You can't take him, he yelled, gripping the stick tightly, feeling the splintered wood press against his palm. And then the whirl of the carousel slowed for a second, revealing more than just Thomas. Faces emerged from the shadows, faces that belonged to other missing kids from the town. Their expressions twisted with sorrow and rage. They all reached out, arms stretching, gasping wordlessly for help. The boy's breath hitched. Had they all been trapped inside? Help us, they cried in a chorus that sent a chill through the crowd. The carousel's sinister charm turned contagious, infecting the once stalwart hearts of those watching. The boy felt something dark seep into his own thoughts, breeding doubt and fear. Ignoring the chill creeping up his spine, he took a step forward, his voice rising above the cacophony. We'll save you. Just hold on. And as he spoke, he felt a strange warmth in his chest, a flicker of hope battling against the darkness. But before he could move closer, a great surge of force erupted from the carousel, yanking him back like a rag doll. The crowd gasped collectively as he tumbled to the ground, nearly knocked out by the sheer power of the magic. The laughter crescendoed, rising like a storm, dark and mocking as it echoed through the air. The surrounding shouts of disbelief and despair rang out, people backing away, feeling the pull of fear tighten around their throats. The boy pushed himself up, desperation clawing at him. We can't leave them, he shouted, his voice shaking. They need our help. Yet uncertainty began to gnaw at him. What if attempting to rescue Thomas meant succumbing to the same fate? He glanced back at the swirling shadows. They flickered with malevolence, drawing him closer with their hypnotic dance, each pulse familiar yet strangely wrong. Thomas, I'm coming. He lunged forward again, ready to defy whatever dark force held them captive. A tendril of shadow caught his ankle, sending him crashing to the ground again. He gasped, nearly paralyzed by the encroaching darkness that twisted around him, threatening to consume him whole. In that moment of turmoil, a flicker of light pierced the chaos, cutting through the shadows like a beacon. It came from the carousel's heart. Instinctively, he felt drawn to it, knowing that whatever it was held the key to setting Thomas and the others free. Don't fight it. Thomas's voice echoed again, now sounding warmer, more familiar. You have to trust me, follow the light. Was it really his friend calling him back? Or was this just another layer of deception? The boy's instincts warred with the urgency of the moment. With newfound determination, he pushed against the pull of fear and darkness, scrambling forward once more. Could he break the carousel's curse and lead Thomas and the others back to freedom? Or would he too become part of the twisted ride, lost to the nightmares tethered within its shadows? As he lunged toward the glowing light, a sudden spark ignited behind him. The crowd gasped as the carousel's laughter transformed into a panicked howl that reverberated into the night, warning them of the irreversible consequences. What awaited him in that light? And would they all survive the awakening of the carnival's malevolent magic? The moment he lunged toward that pulsating light, time seemed to suspend. A silence enveloped him, wrapping around like a thick fog as the chaos of the laughter faded into distant echoes. Shadows writhed around him, reluctant to let go, but he clung to the flicker of hope that ignited his spirit as he reached forward. The light expanded, a brilliant orb that radiated warmth. Felt alive, almost inviting. He hesitated, heart racing, breath coming in quick bursts. Was this the salvation Thomas had begged for, or the trap that would ensnare him too? With a deep breath, he dove into the radiant glow. Instantly, the shadows recoiled, shrieking mournfully. A chilling waft of cold air brushed against his skin as if the darkness realized it had lost its hold. Emerging on the other side, the boy found himself in a surreal landscape within the carousel. Everything twinkled with an otherworldly light. The colors were sharper, more vivid, casting a neon glow on the once dismal scene. But before he could fully process it, his heart sank. The missing kids from town weren't just trapped. They were transformed, their faces twisted in a blend of hope and despair. "Help us," they cried, their voices piercing through the brilliance. Some clutched their stomachs, faces drawn tight with fear. Others looked lost, dazed as they swayed in the glow. Thomas stood at the forefront, his eyes wide and pleading, but something else flickered in their depths, an urgent warning. "Don't believe the light," he shouted suddenly, his voice cracking, urgency clawing at the edges. "It's not what it seems." Every instinct screamed for the boy to protect his friend. But Thomas looked different, his features momentarily shifting into something less human, shadows flickering around him. The boy's heart pounded as confusion crashed over him. "What do you mean?" He stepped back, panic spiking. "They're using us, trying to draw you in." Thomas's voice now sounded strained, fighting against whatever force held him. "It's a trap. You need to." Before he could say another word, the shimmering light pulsed violently, dragging Thomas back. Spectral hands emerged, snatching at him, dragging him beneath the golden surface like a feather caught in a tempest. Screams filled the air, echoing the anguish of his friends. "No!" he screamed, lunging forward again, desperation surging through him like an electric current. Stronger now, he pushed against the light's allure. To his horror, he felt the magnetic pull of the shimmering surface beckoning him, promising freedom yet threatening to swallow him whole. Emotions crashed within him like waves: fear for Thomas, guilt for the others, and an urgent need to act. The carousel's haunting laugh rang out once more, mingled with cries of despair. "You can't resist. Join us." It taunted, as the betrayal from every face around him echoed in his mind. He had to choose. Could he trust Thomas? Was the carousel alive, tangled in a web of manipulation? With raw determination, he turned toward Thomas, pouring every ounce of belief into his friend's words. "You're still in there. Fight it. I'll bring you back." As he reached out, the air around him shimmered, warping and bending as the atmosphere shifted. But that wasn't the only change. The shadows began to retreat, recoiling from the boy's courage. "Stay strong." Thomas's voice rose above the cacophony, a beacon of hope, as the tendrils wrestled to reclaim him. Would they be able to break free from the horror together? Or was this the end, with the carousel winning the battle for their souls? With a fierce resolve, the boy stepped closer, ready to confront whatever awaited him. Would he unlock the secrets of the carousel? Or would he become a puppet like his friend? The answer lay shrouded in the shimmering depths, waiting to be uncovered. The shadows writhed, a dark storm swirling around Thomas as the boy stepped further into the radiant glow. He could see the desperation etched on his friend's face, each agonized scream echoing through the luminescent air. A soft whimper broke free from his throat as he reached toward the flickering figure of Thomas, whose form seemed to shimmer as if caught between two worlds. "Fight back. You can do it," the boy shouted, but his words felt thin, almost drowned out by the cacophony swirling around them. Thomas looked back, eyes flickering between clarity and madness. "Stronger than you think," he cried, anguish lacing his voice. You have to trust yourself." Suddenly, the shimmering light pulsed again, this time violently, and a wave of anguish rippled through all the transformed children. Their faces contorted, pressed against a glass wall of despair. The boy remembered the laughter of their past, their joy before all this began, and felt that memory turn into a heavy stone in his stomach. Each child became a ghost of what they used to be, caught in this bizarre limbo between hope and tragedy. The boy lunged forward, desperation fueling him. The moment he crossed that threshold, the radiance intensified, blinding him momentarily. He fell to his knees, shielding his eyes, battling the radiant force that hissed and flickered, pushing him back. "Come to us. Surrender." The carouselist's voice resonated through him, its laughter now sharp and mocking. Panic squeezed his chest as he gasped for breath, clutching the ground, feeling every grain of the carouselist's enchanted earth. "No!" he screamed, pressing himself forward, fighting the urge to succumb to the allure of the light. "I won't give in." With every ounce of will, he forced himself to focus on Thomas. The boy could feel the bond they shared, like an unbreakable thread tugging at him, pulling him deeper. Thomas's face morphed before him, a mix of human and shadow, and he felt a sharp pang of urgency. "Thomas, remember our pact. We can't leave each other." He exerted his energy toward the shadows, envisioning the warmth of their friendship even through the darkness. Across the chasm, Thomas shuddered. A flicker of recognition danced in his eyes. "You're still here." He clawed at his own face, the shadows hissing and snapping, fighting back against the boy's plea. "But it's too late for me. Save yourself." "No, it's not too late for you. We're in this together." As he screamed, the world cracked around them, and light shot out like 1,000 suns, piercing the shadowy forms clawing for Thomas, pushing towards him, causing the carousel to screech in anger. Why resist? You can have it all. But the boy's resolve only strengthened. He drew deeper from his heart, reaching beyond the fear. "I will not abandon you. We'll find a way. Remember the park, the laughter, all the fun we had? Please." A momentary silence fell as the warmth of his words wrapped around Thomas, shimmering in the light. The shadows, sensing the defiance, began to quiver, drawn back into the darkness. "Believe," Thomas whispered, as he fought against the spectral hands, releasing a cry filled with both fury and hope. For a heartbeat, it seemed as if the entire carousel paused, the children waiting, breathless. The boy felt that crack of doubt in his heart. The uncertainty of his friend's struggle echoed within him, a tension that could snap. Would love and friendship prevail? As the darkness surged, the boy lunged forward again, ready to defy the very fabric of this cruel trap. But a sudden crash of sound erupted. An explosion of color filled the air as the carousel trembled, lights stuttering like a dying star. The boy reeled. What was happening? Would their chance at escape vanish as quickly as it appeared? The shadows twisted furiously, and the laughter became a grotesque roar, threatening to consume them. In this moment of chaos, the boy realized that the carousel was alive, not just a simple trap. It was a predator, and the final price of freedom was closing in on them. Would they break the spell, or would the carousel claim them forever? The answer lay just beyond, hidden, lurking, waiting in the dark. The ground shook violently beneath the boy as the carousel whirled, its colors pulsating with rage. The brilliant light flickered ominously, casting monstrous shadows that danced across the faces of the trapped children. It was a terrifying sight, eyes wide with fear and despair. "Thomas!" the boy shouted over the chaos, his voice strained, almost lost in the growing darkness. "Hold on to our memories." The echo of their laughter clashed against the carousel's manic laughter, each memory a lifeline. With every heartbeat, the shadows lunged, advancing like waves crashing upon the shore, hungry and relentless. The boy felt a tug in his chest, as if the invisible string that connected him to Thomas was stretching dangerously thin. "Fight!" he shouted, desperation infusing his voice. "We'll get through this together." Suddenly, the carousel roared again, its voice like thunder. "You think you can fight me? You're nothing but whispers. Surrender or be consumed." The boy's spirit faltered, fear creeping into his heart. No, he couldn't let doubt win. This was not just about Thomas. It was about all of them, their dreams, their laughter, their freedom. Taking a deep breath, he focused again on the essence of their friendship. "I believe in you," he cried, reaching deeper into his heart, plunging past despair and into the light of hope. "Remember your strength, Thomas. Remember who you are." For a brief moment, Thomas's shadowed form responded, a flicker of the boy Thomas used to be, alive and vibrant. He began, but the shadows clamped down harder. Darkness threatened to swallow his light whole. A new kind of panic surged through the boy. Would Thomas be lost forever? The carousel's laughter grew deafening, and every laugh felt like a knife cutting through the fabric of hope. "Together!" the boy yelled, feeling raw emotion surge through him. Every child pressed against the barrier of despair seemed to pause, absorbing his words. "We're stronger together. Remember who you are." And then he did something he never thought he could. The boy surged forward into the light, letting its searing warmth engulf him. The pain was intense, but his resolve crystallized. This was their moment. His hands grasped at the flickering energies around him. The carousel shook violently, its joyful sneer turning into a scream. Light erupted from him in a brilliant beam, slashing through the darkness. "Go now. Break free," he implored, casting hope like a net over the children ensnared in shadows. Thomas twisted, fighting against the chains of despair, his eyes now fierce. "I will fight. But the shadows, sensing the shifting power, roared back, drawing tight. The boy watched, heart hammering, realizing they were all teetering on the edge of oblivion. Suddenly, the carousel reared up, its lights exploding violently. Booms of thunder and flashes of color erupted into the air. The boy flinched as shards of brilliance scattered, illuminating the faces of the children. Confusion, fear, and a glint of hope shone through. "Hold on to each other," he shouted, feeling the energy of 1,000 hearts beating around him. He could sense their desperation turning into a swell of courage, like a tide rising against the dark. But just then, a wretched howl pierced the air, resolving into chaos. Shadows lashed out around him, engulfing the boy in darkness as the carousel unleashed a torrent of its fury. He felt the weight of despair crushing him, its icy fingers clamping down on his throat. "Let go," the carousel mocked. "You can't save them, you can't even save yourself." In that chilling moment, the boy found himself standing on the precipice of their fate, the stakes rising higher than he ever imagined. Hope hung by a thread. Would they break the spell, Or would the carousel's malevolence spiral into an all-consuming abyss? As the shadows surged again, a horrific realization dawned on him. Freedom was just a word. The true battle was yet to come. Lurking in the depths of shadows, he had yet to confront what was that lurking truth that could either save them or push them into the void. The boy gasped, his chest tight as the darkness constricted around him. He could feel the weight of fear pressing down, the hopelessness trying to weave itself into his heart. But within that crushing despair, something flickered, an ember of determination that refused to die. "Thomas!" he shouted again, desperation weaving through each syllable. "We won't give up." The shadows stirred, momentarily quivering at the resolve behind his voice. The carousel's chaotic laughter faltered, replaced by a tremor of uncertainty. Maybe, just maybe, their connection was stronger than the darkness. "Remember all those days we played?" he continued, grasping at the thread of shared memories. "The way we ran until the sun set, laughter echoing through the trees? Hold on to that." Together a chilling wind cut through his words, twisting and snarling, consuming everything in its path. The carousel screeched, erupting with wrathful sounds that sliced through the boy's heart. "You're grasping at straws, child," it howled, the dark figure morphing into a ghastly visage, all sharp teeth and maddening rage. "They're nothing but fading whispers. You think your memories will save you?" In that moment, the boy saw it plummeting hope in the eyes of his friends. They were all fighting, but the shadows were relentless. Doubts crashed over them like roaring waves. He clenched his fists, flames of anger igniting beneath his skin. "No," he spat, shaking his head defiantly. "We're stronger than you think. We own these memories. They are not just echoes of what was. They breathe life into us." The luminous light within him surged again, this time spreading to his friends, flowing like a river through their veins. He felt it, the warmth of their shared energy igniting, pushing against the confinement of the shadows. "Fight with me," he cried. Every word was a spark, crackling through the frigid air. "Cling to each other. Remember who we are." His friends' faces brightened, the darkness shuddering as they held hands. Power crackled like lightning between them, a bond impervious to despair. A ripple of hope washed over the group, shattering the shadows like glass. But just as the darkness began to wane, the carousel unleashed a furious shriek, a sound that rattled through the bones of everyone present. It was the sound of betrayal, anger, of everything they had fought against. The carousel, a living entity, now twisted and imploded in on itself, shooting jagged shards of shadows outward. "Time to feast," it screeched, and with that declaration, waves of darkness crashed down upon them, threatening to sweep them away. The boy's heart raced. "No," he yelled. "We have to stay strong. We can't let it win." Hands squeezed tighter around him. The group rooted together like a bastion against an encroaching storm. The air surged with energy, each child's heartbeat becoming a drum of defiance. They were a force united against the carousel's relentless hunger. To end that moment, the boy dove deeper into his memories, reaching for the core of who they were, unearthing everything the carousel sought to destroy: their laughter, their dreams, the very essence of their companionship. And then the world trembled. Light erupted from their connection, flaring into a cascade of luminescent colors that enveloped the shadows. It was raw, swirling energy, a bright tide against the encroaching dark. But the darkness wasn't done. It raged anew, even fiercer, clawing desperately at the light. The boy's heart raced as he felt the balance precariously tipping again. There was something more he had to do. "Wait, there's a truth hiding in the shadows," he murmured, realizing the carousel thrived on their fears, on their secrets. What if their memories weren't just weapons but keys to a deeper understanding of their darkness? What if the truth could dismantle the chaos around them? He took a breath, determination coursing through him. What if we faced the shadow within us? As terror swept over him, the shadows writhed, sensing the surge within him. Would they dare confront not just the nightmare but their own fears? Would that be the path to freedom, or would it lead them into a deeper abyss? The air crackled, thick with tension as the boy's heart pounded in his chest. The shadows, sensing his revelation, twisted and twisted, a vortex of malice coiling around the bright surge of emotion erupting from their small hands clasped together. He felt his friend's fear pierce through the light connecting them, an invitation for doubt to invade. "Do we have to?" a girl named Mia whispered, her voice trembling like the flicker of a candle in an approaching storm. Panic flickered in her eyes, contagious and raw. "What if the truth hurts more than the shadow?" "Better to know than live in fear," he replied firmly, forcing back his own uncertainty. "If we face it together, we can break this curse." With each hesitant nod from his friends, the boy felt a surge of resolve. It was like standing on the edge of a cliff, staring down at a roaring river below. If they took this leap together, the consequences could either save them or drown them. The shadows quivered, sensing the shift from fear to resolve. "Bring it on," he shouted, his voice finding strength as it echoed through the storm of darkness. "We're ready." Suddenly, the shadows lunged forward, forming into jagged spikes aiming toward their hearts. His friends flinched but stayed locked together. The boy took a deep breath, letting the warmth of their memories flow through him like a shield against the piercing cold. "Remember the tree swing? The wind in our hair? Laughter filling the air?" he called, desperation woven through the words. "When we faced that monster in the woods together, we laughed in its face. We were brave then." "Brave," Thomas echoed, his eyes brightening as the memories filled the air around them. The shadows writhed, furious. "You think those memories protect you? They are your weakness. I'll devour each and every one of them." In that moment, the boy felt a ripple, an inkling of fear transforming into courage. "No, they are our light, and we are not hiding anymore." They had shared their struggles, fears, and dreams together. This was the truth binding them, and they would not be crushed by this nightmare. The shadows recoiled, hissing in frustration as the light swirled brighter, fed by the flames of their unity. Thumbelina, with her soft yet resilient spirit, cried out, "Face the truth. We can do this. Let us unleash our fears." One by one, they started to voice their fears, the dark corners of their hearts laid bare. "I'm afraid of being alone," shouted Mia. "I fear missing out on everything." Thomas added, his voice cracking, "I'm scared we'll never escape." A boy named Eric shouted, unleashing his most vulnerable truth. With each confession, the shadows thrashed violently, shrieks echoing through the carousel, an enraged beast gnashing its teeth. But with every fear shared, their bonds grew stronger, the light flickering and invading the shadows with raw energy. As they found courage in their truths, the boy felt a heart-stopping shift. The shadows thinned, losing their grip, and the boy's chest expanded with unexpected strength. This isn't just about fighting. It's about understanding ourselves. But suddenly, the carousel erupted with a horrific cry, a final plea as it twisted and pulled, attempting to reclaim the children into its choking darkness. "You'll regret this. You'll wish you'd never faced your fears." Just as the darkness began to melt away, the boy caught a glimpse of something, a flickering figure hidden within the shadows, watching them with an unsettling expression. Who are you?" he breathed, dread creeping over him as they fought to hold onto their crown of light. "You're past your paths, the answers you seek lie within," the figure whispered as it began to fade, leaving behind a chilling touch of doubt. Was this shape a painful remembrance of the past or a sliver of hope waiting to be embraced? The boy's heart raced relentlessly as he faced the unknown. What had they truly uncovered? What more secrets did the shadows hold? In the swirling chaos of the carousel, the boy's heart raced as he tried to grasp the essence of Thomas's voice shimmering through the shadows. "Fight it," he screamed, his voice a beacon amidst despair. "Remember our memories. They are our strength." The shifting shadows recoiled, momentarily stunned by their united cries. For a fleeting moment, the carousel swayed. Its malevolence faltered, revealing the barest flicker of light, a glimmer of hope amid the swirling dark. "Together," the boy called, the urgency in his voice crackling like electricity. He felt the warmth of hands squeezed tightly around him, unity swelling in their midst. Fresh determination surged, pushing back against fear. Will you face the truth with me? We have to stand as one. As if summoned by his resolve, the trapped children began to rise, their shadows flickering weakly against the light. Slowly they nodded. A collective moment of courage settled between them as they cast aside the trepidation that had bound them. Together, they echoed. And with that word, a wave of light erupted from their hearts, cutting through the carousel's dark tendrils, illuminating every corner of the twisted ride. The shadows writhed violently, shrieking as their grip on the children weakened. You think this light will save you? The carousel roared, its voice cracked and furious, a dying breath desperate to reclaim its prize. You'll only become shadows of your former selves. But as the shadowy tendrils recoiled, something profound began to happen. With every confession, every shared memory, their light pulsed brighter, stronger, driven by their yearning to return home. The laughter of long-lost joy echoed around them, mingling with the urgent thuds of their hearts. "Let go of me," Thomas shouted, fighting back against the blanketing darkness. "I want to be consumed again." The boy could see clarity returning to his friend's eyes, a flicker of defiance igniting within him. With hearts beating in sync, they poured their memories into the light, forming a protective barrier against the carousel's rage. "Remember the treehouse?" The boy yelled, and the others joined in. "Remember the summer picnics? Remember the time we chased fireflies until dawn?" Their voices melded into a chorus, a tide of love sweeping through their bond. And with every word chanted, shadows shrank back, tilting the balance of power. But the carousel roared again, its malevolence churning in desperation. "You think you've uncovered all the truth? You know nothing of your own darkness." Its voice thundered, guilt and terror clawing at their minds again. "Maybe not," the boy admitted, his voice unwavering. "But together we're stronger than isolation. We choose hope over fear." And then, summoning every ounce of courage, he lunged forward, breaking the barrier of light as he reached for Thomas, pulling his friend back from the brink of oblivion. The carousel screeched, as the shadows drew back, weaving together in a final act of wretched fury. The boy's heart raced as he felt the darkness wrenching, pulling everything around him apart. But the bond among them glimmered brighter than any fear, illuminating the swirling chaos with fierce determination. And in that moment of unity, a blinding flash enveloped the spinning carousel. The shadows screamed as raw energy surged through the night, cutting through despair like a knife, shattering the malevolent ride into fragments. The children, tears of triumph streaming down their faces, watched as the carousel disintegrated into a cascade of colors. An explosion of light slicing the night as the darkness faded away. The children found themselves standing together in the town square, unharmed yet breathless. The late-night moon bathed them in warmth, illuminating their faces alight with disbelief and joy. "Thomas!" the boy shouted, pulling his friend into a fierce embrace. "You did it! We did it!" Around them, the townsfolk began to emerge from their fear, their faces showing confusion evolving into awe. Parents rushed to reunite with children, their shouts blending into a cacophony of relief. "No more shadows," the boy whispered, looking at Thomas and the others, a weight lifting from his heart. They had faced the darkness and had emerged victorious, a testament to the light they carried together. As dawn broke, streams of golden light cascaded over the horizon, illuminating the town with the promise of new beginnings. And as the children held each other's hands, they knew they would forever carry this bond of unity forged in adversity, each of them a light leading the way forward. "Let us go home," Thomas said, voice steady but soft, a smile tugging on his lips as they turned to walk towards the new day. The energy of friendship thrummed in the air around them, reminding them that together, they could conquer anything. As they left the remnants of the carousel behind, hope blossomed in their chests, and they knew this was just the beginning. So in the spirit of their victory against the shadows, remember to hold tight to your own truths and friendships, because you never know what light might be waiting just beyond the dark. And before you go, you need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Time is ticking. Smash that like button now to help fuel this awesome journey. Don't hesitate to flood the comments with your thoughts and theories, because I want to hear from you about what just went down. And for the love of storytelling, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this heart-pounding conclusion. Don't wait. Do it now. This is the moment to show your support.